Good morning, everybody. Well, look out, Drew Peterson. There is another cop in town that has killed his wife. And so, when we think of the strange way that cops kill their wives, we're going to think about him before we think about you now. His name is Brett Seacat, and it's spelled just like it sounds, S-E-A-C-A-T. Brett Seacat. Brett Seacat is accused of killing his wife, Vashti Seacat. That's an unusual name, too, isn't it? And I thought it was weird when I first heard it, but the more I hear it, the more I like it. She was a beautiful young lady. Brett and Vashti had 2 boys together. They lived in a nice 2-story home. Vashti had just filed for divorce, had just served him with divorce papers last week, as a matter of fact. And now she's dead. And he's saying, oh, it wasn't me. This is his lie. I'm going to tell you his lie first. His lie is that she was suicidal. And he was worried about her. And that he had talked her into letting him stay at the house after she had served him with divorce papers, because he was worried about her. Mr. Furley wants to get in on the limelight, too. So she agreed, and she let him stay, and that he says he was downstairs, and that she had called him on his cell phone and told him, you better come upstairs and get the boys before something happens. He said he ran up the stairs, and the house was on fire. And that he ran into her room and thought she was sleeping in the bed. And he went to pick her up, and there was blood everywhere. So he just dropped her back down, went and got the boys or whatever, and got out of the house. I called 911, reported that the house was on fire and that his wife was in there. And he says that she left a suicide note. She left a note for him, for the 2 boys, for her parents, saying what she was going to do, and then she took, apparently, his gun, and she shot herself in the head. He says that she must have set the house on fire first and then shot herself in the head. Okay, those were his lies now. And yes, she was found in the bed, and yes, the house was on fire, and yes, she did have the gun in her hand, and yes, she was shot in the head. All that is true. It's just not true the way he said it happened. This is the way that the law says it happened. She had served him with divorce papers the week before. She also had a restraining order against him. Yes, he did talk her into letting him stay at the house. She did it because she was afraid of him, though. She had just talked to a co-worker the week before this happened about Brett. She said that Brett had woke her up one night out of her sleep and told her he dreamed he killed her. She said he went on to tell her, if you ever cheat on me, I will kill you. Then she asked her friend at work, said, do you think that Brett will ever burn the house down? Do you think he could burn the house down? And the friend told her, not with the boys there. That would be testified in court, too. And then, so, she had this fear that Brett was going to do something to her. And she voiced her fear. She said that she felt like Brett was intending to kill her and to cover it up to make it look like an accident, like it wasn't his fault. And she had voiced this a week or so before her death. Now, they also say that the fire wasn't the first thing that happened. The gunshot was the first thing that happened. A neighbor heard a gunshot 45 minutes before the fire. So, they say that Brett took his gun, went in there while she was in the bed, probably asleep, I would like to think, and shot her in the head. The way she was shot in the head, if she had shot herself, well, they said when she was found, the gun was just laying in her hand. If she had shot herself, her finger would have still been on the trigger. Not the gun's just not just gonna be laying there. They said she was shot in the back of the head at an angle down like this. If you're gonna shoot yourself in the head, you're gonna go like this, or in the ear. You're not gonna do like this because it was a very big, heavy gun. They said it would be a very heavy gun for a woman to handle, much less shoot at an angle in the back of the head. So, and then, so if the gunshot happened 45 minutes before the fire, then he doused gasoline throughout the house, and he set the fire. He got the boys out, then he set the fire. Then he called 911, saying that his wife was still in the house. He wrote the suicide notes. He was caught in his office with a big projector and her journal, which means he was projecting her journal up on this big projector and writing like her. He was tracing her handwriting. So yeah, that's how he wrote the suicide notes, was he traced her handwriting. And he was caught doing this. So, and now he's trying to say, I loved Vashti. I did not do this. But yes, he did. Yes, he did. He didn't want her to leave. And so, yes, he did. And this is what I'm wondering. When all this happens, and especially these cops, and they kill their wives, is there any violence in the house that we know of before? I mean, if you're married to a cop and your husband is beating you, or, you know, of course you can't call a cop if your husband verbally abuses you, but if he beats you, who you gonna call? You know, that's like if your husband smacks you and you call his best friend. You know, it's just, I've always found that weird. Like what would you really do? There's basically nothing you can do. There's nobody you can turn to. So now, Vashti's two little boys are left without their mother, and they're going to be, you know, they love their father too, of course. And they're going to be torn between this, and they're probably going to believe their dad when the dad says your mom killed herself and I didn't do it, and blah, blah, blah. And they'll probably be apt to believe just that. And that's sad. That's just so sad. So that trial will be coming up shortly, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more stuff in there that hasn't been brought out, and that's going to be kind of interesting. And so be looking for Brett Seacat in the news. And until next time, bye-bye.